Growth is rarely comfortable. It is often uncomfortable, challenging, and lonely. And yet, it is in solitude that it thrives the most. When a woman spends time alone, free from distractions and external influences, she gains the clarity and focus needed to evolve into the best version of herself. Solitude becomes the fertile ground where self-awareness, skill development, and personal transformation flourish. In the quiet of her own company, she reflects on her past experiences, evaluates her choices, and identifies the patterns that have shaped her life. This deep self-reflection allows her to understand her strengths, recognize her weaknesses, and make intentional changes that align with her true purpose. Growth in solitude is deliberate. It is conscious, mindful, and fueled by the desire to become stronger, wiser, and more authentic. Solitude also provides space for experimentation and learning. Without fear of judgment or pressure to conform, she can try new things, explore passions, and take risks that stretch her beyond her comfort zone. Mistakes no longer feel like failures. They become lessons that accelerate her personal development. She learns to trust herself, to adapt and to innovate, cultivating resilience and resourcefulness that can only be honed in the absence of external support. Being alone teaches patience as well, an essential ingredient for growth. She learns that progress is rarely linear, that transformation takes time, and that true mastery and understanding come from consistent effort and reflection. Each moment of solitude becomes an opportunity to refine her skills, strengthen her mindset, and nurture the qualities that will carry her through future challenges. Furthermore, growth in solitude is not just about external achievements. It is deeply internal. She learns emotional intelligence, self-compassion, and the ability to manage her thoughts and emotions independently. This inner growth enhances her confidence, empowers her decision-making, and deepens her understanding of herself and her place in the world. Through the power of solitude, she realizes that growth does not require constant input from others. It requires dedication, introspection, and the courage to face oneself fully. She discovers that her most profound transformations are born in moments of quiet reflection, where she confronts her truths, embraces her potential, and steadily becomes the person she is meant to be. Being alone is not a limitation. It is one of the most powerful forces a woman can harness. In solitude, she learns that her strength, her resilience, and her creativity do not depend on anyone else. Every moment spent alone is a chance to cultivate independence, self-trust, and inner peace. This is where her true power emerges, quietly, steadily, and undeniably, like a flame that cannot be extinguished. A woman who embraces being alone discovers that she can accomplish more than she ever imagined. She is no longer distracted by opinions, expectations, or the need to fit into someone else's narrative. Her focus sharpens, her mind becomes clearer, and her decisions are guided by purpose rather than pressure. Solitude allows her to explore her potential fully, to push her boundaries, and to redefine what she is capable of achieving. Being alone also strengthens emotional fortitude. She learns to face challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties without relying on external support. Each difficulty she navigates alone becomes a testament to her courage, endurance, and determination. She becomes unshakable because she knows that her confidence, her skills, and her self-worth are grounded within herself and not in the approval of others. Moreover, solitude nurtures clarity and authenticity. In the absence of outside noise, she learns to listen to her inner voice, understand her true desires, and align her actions with her values. This self-awareness gives her the freedom to live deliberately, act intentionally, and embrace opportunities that resonate with her vision rather than conforming to societal expectations. Being alone also fuels creativity, reflection, and growth. She has the time to dream boldly, plan strategically, and experiment freely without fear of judgment. Her imagination is limitless, and her ability to innovate and adapt becomes one of her greatest strengths. In this way, solitude transforms from a state of being into an active superpower, giving her the tools, mindset, and energy to thrive in every aspect of life. Ultimately, the superpower of being alone lies in its ability to make a woman self-sufficient, fearless, and unstoppable. She learns that her presence alone is enough, her voice alone is powerful, and her journey alone is transformative. Being alone does not isolate her. It empowers her, equips her, and prepares her to step into her full potential in ways that no external force could ever provide. Independence is more than just doing things alone. It is the confidence and courage to rely on yourself, to make decisions, and to stand firm in your beliefs without needing constant approval from others. When a woman spends time alone, she begins to discover the true depth of her independence. She realizes that she can navigate life's challenges, pursue her dreams, and create her own happiness without depending on anyone else. Being alone teaches her the art of self-reliance. She learns to manage her own emotions, solve her own problems, and celebrate her own successes. Each experience reinforces the knowledge that she is fully capable of handling what life throws at her. This independence is empowering because it is rooted in competence, resilience, and self-trust. She no longer fears being on her own because she understands that she is enough. Independence also sharpens decision-making. Without the influence of others, she evaluates situations clearly, weighs her options carefully, and follows a path aligned with her values and goals. She learns to trust her intuition and stand by her choices, even if they are unpopular or unconventional. In this process, she builds the confidence to move forward in life with certainty, knowing that she can navigate challenges without leaning on external support. Moreover, independence nurtures freedom. She can explore her passions, take risks, and pursue opportunities without compromise. She is no longer limited by others' expectations or opinions. Solitude allows her to embrace this freedom fully, to design her life intentionally, and to prioritize her own growth and well-being. Each decision she makes reinforces her autonomy and strengthens her sense of self. This growing independence is not just practical, it is deeply empowering. She walks into rooms with confidence, speaks with clarity, and acts with purpose. She is no longer constrained by reliance on others for emotional, financial, or social support. Independence becomes a natural part of her identity, a force that allows her to thrive, grow, and live life authentically. Solitude teaches a woman one of the most powerful lessons life can offer: patience. When she is alone, she is no longer swept along by the expectations or schedules of others. She learns to wait, not passively, but intentionally, for the right moment, the right decision, or the right opportunity. Being alone allows her to slow down, to breathe, and to understand that not everything needs to happen immediately, and that growth and transformation cannot be rushed. Reflection becomes a natural companion in this process. In silence, she examines her life, her choices, her successes, and her failures without distraction. She asks herself hard questions about her purpose, her values, and her true desires, and listens carefully to the answers. Solitude provides the clarity to see patterns she might have ignored, the courage to confront uncomfortable truths, and the wisdom to make adjustments that align with her authentic self. Through patience and reflection, she develops foresight. She learns to anticipate challenges, recognize opportunities, and make decisions grounded in understanding rather than impulse. Each quiet moment spent in contemplation strengthens her judgment, sharpens her awareness, and enhances her ability to navigate life with confidence. Reflection also deepens self-understanding. She learns why she reacts in certain ways, what truly motivates her, and what holds her back from reaching her full potential. In this process, she gains empathy for herself, allowing her to forgive mistakes, celebrate progress, and cultivate a mindset rooted in growth rather than regret. Patience in solitude is not passive waiting, it is active preparation. It is the awareness that time spent alone, reflecting and learning is never wasted. Each pause becomes an investment in her character, resilience, and vision for the future. She begins to understand that the most meaningful achievements are not hurried but cultivated through persistence, observation, and thoughtful reflection. Silence is not empty. It is fertile ground where imagination grows, ideas take shape, and innovation is born. When a woman spends time alone, free from distractions, expectations, or interruptions, she taps into a deep well of creativity that the noise of the world often buries. Solitude allows her mind to wander, to explore new perspectives, and to connect thoughts in ways that are uniquely her own. In these quiet moments, she begins to notice details she might have overlooked, to hear the whispers of inspiration that go unheard in the chaos of daily life. She experiments without fear of judgment, takes risks without worrying about criticism, and allows herself to dream bigger than ever before. The absence of external input teaches her to trust her own creative instincts, to believe that her ideas have value, and to explore them fully without hesitation. Being alone also allows her to reflect on past experiences and translate them into something meaningful. Memories, emotions, and observations become a canvas on which she can paint her thoughts and insights. Solitude provides the mental space for brainstorming, problem-solving, and envisioning possibilities that are entirely her own. It is here that innovation is not forced. It flows naturally, nurtured by focus and freedom. Creativity in silence is also a form of self-expression. Without the need to conform or explain, she can create art, write her story, or develop solutions in ways that align perfectly with her authentic self. The absence of an audience allows her to take ownership of her vision, to experiment boldly, and to grow confident in her unique voice. Over time, she realizes that silence is not just a backdrop for creativity, it is a catalyst. It sharpens her perception, deepens her insight, and empowers her to approach challenges with originality and clarity. What begins as quiet reflection transforms into powerful creation, and the woman who embraces solitude discovers that her imagination is limitless, her potential untapped, and her capacity for innovation greater than she ever imagined. When a woman spends time alone, she quickly realizes that no one else can fill the spaces within her heart. That is when self-love stops being optional. It becomes essential. She learns that waiting for others to appreciate her, celebrate her victories, or comfort her in times of doubt is a path that leads to disappointment. True love, support, and validation must first come from within. Self-love begins with recognizing her own worth. In solitude, she looks inward and sees her strengths, her talents, and her unique qualities. She begins to appreciate her journey, her choices, and even her imperfections, understanding that each aspect of herself contributes to the person she is becoming. She starts to honor her feelings, listen to her intuition, and trust her instincts, creating a relationship with herself that is built on respect, compassion, and acceptance. Beyond recognition, self-love becomes a practice. She celebrates her achievements, whether big or small, without needing applause. She comforts herself during setbacks, offering patience and encouragement where criticism once thrived. She sets boundaries that protect her energy and her well-being, learning to say no without guilt and yes without fear. This practice of self-love strengthens her independence and resilience, providing a foundation that no external circumstance can shake. Solitude also allows her to discover joy in her own company. She learns to entertain herself, pursue her passions, and find satisfaction in her own accomplishments. She realizes that being alone is not emptiness, it is freedom. The freedom to nurture herself, follow her own path, and grow without compromise. The love she cultivates for herself becomes a guiding force, shaping her decisions, her actions, and her interactions with the world. As self-love deepens, she gains the confidence to stand tall in her authenticity. She no longer seeks validation from others because she recognizes that her value is inherent. Every moment spent alone reinforces the truth that she is whole, capable, and deserving of happiness simply because she exists. Through self-love, she builds an inner sanctuary of strength and peace, a place she can always return to, regardless of the chaos or uncertainty of the world around her. Resilience is not given. It is earned, shaped, and strengthened in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When a woman spends time alone, she faces life without the safety nets of constant support or encouragement. And it is precisely in those moments that her resilience begins to take root. She learns that challenges cannot always be shared, that setbacks must sometimes be confronted alone, and that the strength to rise again must come from within. Solitude tests her patience, endurance, and determination. It forces her to confront fears she might have ignored when surrounded by others, to face discomfort without distraction, and to make choices that sometimes feel impossible. Each struggle becomes a lesson in perseverance, each obstacle a stepping stone to a stronger, more unshakable self. Resilience forged in this way is not fragile or temporary. It is deep, permanent, and quietly powerful. In solitude, she also learns to embrace uncertainty. Life does not wait for approval or company, and neither can she. Facing problems alone teaches her adaptability, resourcefulness, and creative problem solving. She discovers that she is capable of handling what seems insurmountable because she has faced herself under pressure, without a crutch, without comfort, and without fear of being alone. Moreover, this resilience carries over to every aspect of her life. Emotional storms, professional challenges, and personal setbacks no longer feel like insurmountable threats. They are opportunities to demonstrate the strength she has honed in solitude. She learns to stay grounded even when the world is chaotic, to move forward when circumstances are uncertain, and to maintain her confidence when external support is absent. Resilience built in solitude is intimate and personal. It is not about showing strength to the world. It is about knowing it exists, quietly and undeniably. Within her. It is the confidence that even when everything seems to fall apart, she will endure, adapt, and rise. And as she navigates the twists and turns of life alone, she begins to understand that true resilience is not borrowed from others. It is born from the courage, persistence, and faith she cultivates in the sacred space of her own company. Isolation is a teacher unlike any other. When a woman is alone, she is confronted with choices, decisions, and challenges without anyone to lean on or guide her. And in that space, self-trust begins to emerge, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. She starts learning to rely on her own judgment, to listen to her own instincts, and to honor the voice within that often gets drowned out by the opinions of others. Making decisions alone can feel daunting at first. There's no one to reassure her, no one to validate her choices, and no one to share the responsibility if things go wrong. But slowly, she realizes that the answers she needs are already within her. She begins to understand that she has the wisdom, the intuition, and the resilience to navigate life on her own. Every decision she makes alone becomes a brick in the foundation of her confidence, a proof that she is capable, competent, and capable of standing tall under her own weight. Self-trust cultivated in isolation is different from trust given by others. It is unshakable because it is earned, not borrowed. She learns to face uncertainty without panic, to take risks without seeking permission, and to embrace failure without fear. Mistakes no longer feel like shameful moments. They become lessons, reminders that her own guidance is reliable and that she can always recover, adapt, and continue forward. Beyond decision-making, isolation also strengthens her emotional self-trust. She learns to navigate her own feelings, to soothe her own anxieties, and to celebrate her own victories without depending on someone else's recognition. This emotional independence becomes a cornerstone of her inner strength, making her resilient to external judgment, criticism, or neglect. Over time, she discovers that self-trust is liberating. It allows her to walk through life with confidence, clarity, and courage, knowing that even if she stands completely alone, she is enough. She no longer doubts her instincts or second-guesses her choices because each experience in solitude reinforces the truth. She is capable of guiding herself, protecting herself, and creating the life she desires through her own wisdom and inner strength. Being alone is often misunderstood. Many see it as emptiness, as a void to be feared, but the truth is far from that. Being alone is not synonymous with loneliness. It is the freedom to exist fully, to connect deeply with yourself, and to experience life on your own terms. When a woman is alone, she has the rare chance to listen to her own heartbeat, understand her own emotions, and nurture her own soul without distraction. Loneliness comes from feeling disconnected, from needing validation or presence from others to feel whole. But when she embraces being alone, she discovers that her wholeness does not depend on anyone else. She learns that joy can come from within, from small moments like watching the sunrise, savoring her favorite tea, or listening to her own thoughts without interruption. She realizes that her company is enough, and that she can fill her own heart with love, laughter, and inspiration. Being alone allows her to explore her inner world fully. She starts to understand her patterns, her passions, her dreams, and even her fears. She gets the chance to challenge herself, to push beyond her comfort zones, and to grow in ways that external voices often cannot teach. In this space, she can reflect, plan, and heal at her own pace, without pressure or judgment. Moreover, being alone nurtures independence. She no longer relies on someone else to entertain her, to validate her feelings, or to make her feel significant. She becomes her own companion, her own motivator, and her own support system. And in this transformation, she experiences a freedom that those constantly surrounded by others rarely achieve. A freedom to live authentically, freely, and powerfully. She also begins to redefine connection. Instead of seeking fulfillment solely through others, she learns to connect with herself first, building a foundation of self-respect and self-love that strengthens all other relationships in her life. Being alone teaches her that silence can be comforting, solitude can be nourishing, and her own presence can be the greatest source of peace she has ever known. Solitude is not just the absence of people, it is the presence of yourself. When a woman chooses to be alone, she steps into a space where she can breathe freely, think clearly, and reflect deeply. In a world that constantly demands attention, approval, and validation, solitude becomes a sanctuary, a safe haven where the noise fades and her own voice becomes loud, clear, and undeniable. In this sanctuary, she has the time and space to understand her true desires, her hidden strengths, and her dreams that often get buried under obligations or social expectations. It is in these quiet moments that she begins to notice the subtleties of her own mind, the power of her thoughts, and the beauty of her individuality. Solitude gives her the freedom to explore who she really is, not who she is supposed to be. A sanctuary allows for introspection without distraction. She can ask herself the hard questions, confront her fears, and face her insecurities without judgment. This is the place where she learns to listen, not to others, but to herself, where she starts realizing that her presence alone is enough, and that she doesn't need constant companionship to feel complete. It is also a place of growth. In solitude, she experiments, she fails, she learns, and she rises again. Every moment spent alone is an investment in self-awareness, a chance to reconnect with her values, passions, and ambitions. She begins to see that being alone doesn't mean missing out. It means gaining clarity, purpose, and power that the chaos of the world often conceals. The sanctuary of solitude becomes a refuge, a place to recharge, to dream, and to plan. It is where she begins to understand that peace doesn't come from the presence of others, but from alignment within herself. It is where strength, creativity, and wisdom quietly awaken, preparing her for every challenge and opportunity that life will place before her. There's a quiet strength in being alone. A world full of voices, distractions, and expectations often makes us feel incomplete when we stand by ourselves. But solitude is not emptiness. It is a sanctuary, a place where you meet the most important person in your life, yourself. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means discovering your own voice, trusting your own decisions, and learning that your worth isn't determined by anyone else's presence. It's in these moments of silence that true clarity emerges, when your passions and dreams reveal themselves without interference. The power of being alone is subtle but transformative. It teaches resilience because you learn to stand tall even when no one is there to hold you up. It nurtures independence because you realize you can thrive on your own. It fosters self-love because you are forced to celebrate your victories, comfort your failures, and become your own unwavering support system. Solitude is a training ground. It challenges you, tests your patience, and refines your character. It reveals the strength you didn't know you had, the creativity you didn't know existed, and the courage to follow your path without approval. The power of being alone is the power to be unstoppable, to walk through life with confidence, and to embrace your journey fully, without fear, without hesitation, without compromise. So cherish these moments, welcome the silence, and understand that being alone is not a setback, it is a superpower waiting to be unlocked.